Brotherhood. Geronda. I'm troubled when you say we will go through difficult years. You must love one another, be at peace with one another. Train yourselves spiritually. Be brave, remain united as one body, and fear nothing. God will help. Cultivate love, the spiritual kind. Love one another like a mother loves her child. You should have a sense of brotherhood and a spirit of sacrifice. Soon we will go through difficult days. Naturally, we monks and nuns leave this world and abandon relatives and friends in order to enter the large family of Adam, God's family. But for the laity who live in society, it is important that they maintain relationships with relatives and friends who live a spiritual life so that they will be helped. The Christian who is struggling in the world is helped when he has relationships with spiritual people. No matter how spiritually one lives, one needs, especially in our present time, good fellowship with others. Contact with spiritual people is most beneficial, even more so than spiritual study, because the joy of the spiritual relationship provides a great impetus to one who struggles spiritually. Even at work, in a government department, for example, it is good to get to know other spiritual people for mutual assistance. A problem, say, could arise among colleagues, and mutual support would be helpful, but they may hesitate to speak to one another, unless they have already established a fellowship. Geronda. When someone refuses to help us in some need, is it right for us to hesitate to ask him again for something we may need? No. You should not hesitate to ask again. Perhaps he did not have the ability to help at that time. It is like you asking me for a small cross and I give it to you. You ask me again at another time, but I do not have any to give you. Later on I go and buy little crosses so that I can give them out to people. And you come along and do not ask me for one, while I am looking for an opportunity to give them out. Today, people can be living in the same apartment building and not know each other. In the past, there was the neighborhood that allowed people to get acquainted and help each other in a time of need. Someone might be traveling with his horse and cart and meet an acquaintance on the road. Where are you coming from? Where are you going? They might ask each other. I'm going there too. Come on, we'll go together. Or maybe if someone else had planned to go somewhere on his horse, he would tell his neighbor, where do you need to go? If you can wait, I'll be going there in 3 hours by horse and I can take you with me. Or he might say to a neighbor, tomorrow I will be going that way. Why don't you stay overnight with us and we can leave together early? In the morning, people thought of each other, and whenever they could offer some help, they did. They were curious in a good way, and would ask if they could be of help in any situation whatsoever. They even had acquaintances from village to village. Geronda. How does it help people to have ties of spiritual friendship? Nowadays, even if spiritual people do not want to be bonded together, they will be forced to do so by the devil. Through his abundant evil, the devil actually brings about a great good for the people today. For example, suppose that a believing father wants to have a tutor for his children. He will be obliged to find a good and believing teacher to provide this service in his household. A teacher who is a believer but has not yet been assigned to a school, wants to tutor children and will want to find a good family to feel secure. A tradesman who lives spiritually, be he a painter or electrician or builder, will look to find work in a good family, to feel at ease and to avoid the troubles he would otherwise encounter in a worldly setting. By the same token, a Christian family man will seek to bring into his house a good tradesman who is also a believer. Thus, each will be looking to find another spiritual person with whom he can cooperate. Gradually, spiritual people will come to know one another through the various trades and professions. In the end, the devil with his evil work actually does some good, without wanting to, by separating the sheep from the goats. The sheep and the goats will be separated, and there shall become one flock, one shepherd. You see, in the past, the villagers had a shepherd, and each of the villagers would give him their sheep or goats, one 5, another 10, and he would pasture the sheep and the goats together, because back then the goats were tame and did not bother the sheep with their horns. Now the goats have gone wild and are savagely butting Christ's sheep. The sheep in turn are seeking a good shepherd and a flock made up of sheep only. For the world has now become fit only for those who live in sin. For this reason people will separate themselves. The sheep will be separated from the goats. Those who want to live a spiritual life will eventually find that they are not able to do it in this world. They will be searching to find people like themselves, people of God. They will want to have a spiritual father to guide them, and they will distance themselves all the more from sin. And this good is now being achieved by the devil and his evil ways, without him wanting to. So now we see in the cities and the villages too, some people running to nightclubs and entertainment centers, while others are going to church for vigils, for supplication prayers, for spiritual gatherings, and these people are united among themselves. In difficult times, a strong fellowship is formed among people. During the war, we lived as soldiers for 2 years in the platoon and were closer than brothers, because we shared the difficulties and the dangers. We were so close-knit that we called each other brother. They were people of the world with worldly mentalities, and yet they did not want to be separated from each other. They had not read the gospel nor any spiritual books. They only had a simple worldly education in the good sense, but they also had the most important thing of all, a love, a sense of brotherhood, a spirit of fellowship with one another. Recently one of our comrades from the army died, and all the other gathered at his funeral from all over the country. A fellow army man also came to see me here. How tightly he embraced me. I could not break loose from his warm, brotherly embrace. Now we are fighting the devil, so try to become more brotherly and to have a brotherly fellowship. That's how we will be able to walk together on the steep path of ascent towards sweet Golgotha.